Something strange is happening in the Atlantic Ocean. According to a new study, hurricanes are intensifying much faster than they were just a few decades ago, which has scientists sounding the alarm. The study was published in the journal Nature, and it compared hurricanes in the modern era to the historical era. I spoke with the author, Andra Garner.
I did find that by the modern time period, it's about twice as likely for hurricanes to strengthen from, say, Category 1 or a tropical storm into a major hurricane within 24 hours.
This is October 24th, 2023, just days after the publication. Hurricane Otis caught millions off guard when it strengthened from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in less than a day before slamming into Acapulco, Mexico. The rate that it strengthened was nearly a world record.
This is not something that should necessarily be unexpected. It's something that we might expect to see more of as the planet warms.
The 6 costliest U.S. weather events of the last decade were rapidly strengthening hurricanes.
And over that time period, we had, I believe, Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria. We had Hurricane Sandy in 2012. We also had Hurricane Ida in 2021 and Hurricane Ian in 2022. If we continue to warm the oceans, I think this is a trend that we could expect to see continue to worsen.
From Greenville, Max Claypool, Storm Team 9. Concerns over a potential volcanic eruption are rising in Italy after hundreds of tremors were felt west of Naples in recent weeks. The cause of the tremors is the Campi Flegrei supervolcano.
The seismicity is because you have magma that's rising up underneath a volcano, and it literally makes the volcano basically inflate.
Several deadly modern-day eruptions come to mind. Krakatoa wiped out towns with pyroclastic flows. This one from Mount Uzun sadly killed 30 people, including prominent volcanologists.
And it goes down the side of the mountain and can travel at hundreds of miles per hour. And that created this flow of hot gases and rocks down the side. And you can't escape that.
These recent events remind us of the danger of active volcanoes. And it's the type of volcano that Campi Flegrei is that makes it particularly dangerous.
If you have a really big eruption, it vaporizes the entire mountain. This is like a giant explosion. The entire mountain is gone, and you get a hole in the ground. That's a caldera. About 40,000 years ago, it produced a very large explosion that was maybe 200 times the size of Mount St. Helens. And that's sort of the extreme end member of a risk.
For now, the city of Naples will just have to wait. From Greenville, Max Claypool, Storm Team 9. As climate change makes weather more erratic, homeowners are facing a new problem. Insurance companies are fleeing disaster-prone areas, and in North Carolina, insurance rates could nearly double.
Because of climate change-driven weather-related catastrophes, insurers are responding in two ways. One, they're raising rates, and two, they're declining to renew or write new insurance, and in some cases, like in Florida, pulling out of the state entirely.
The other part of the problem is that more people are moving to these disaster-prone places.
What we're seeing in the effects of sort of supercharging the atmosphere, that's one half of the puzzle. The other half is how we build and where we build. So over time, of course, our population has grown. We've expanded into areas that we may not necessarily want to be in.
Florence began to bring its full force to North Carolina overnight, lashing the coast with stinging rain.
Coastal North Carolina is one of the most vulnerable places in the country, and that's what's causing the insurance rates to soar.
If you're fortunate enough in Eastern Carolina to, have the dream to retire or own a home down here, the dream is rapidly fading.
Not only is it making it more difficult for those who can't afford, it's making it impossible for those who can't afford to live in coastal areas.
Sam is on what's known as the Beach Plan. It's a government insurance program that steps in where private companies won't. This is a last resort for many homeowners, as insurance companies may hike rates by up to 99% statewide. North Carolina gets most of its severe weather during the spring, but by the month of June, storms start to shift out west. So I decided to see for myself and fly to Texas to chase a severe weather outbreak. 6 hours after I landed, I was watching thunderstorms develop, and shortly after, the Storm Prediction Center in San Angelo, Texas, issued the first tornado warning of the day. So I drove in to investigate. All right, guys, and this is tornado warned. We have a tornado. Uh-oh. That was hail, wasn't it? Oh, big lightning strike. It's hard to tell from the video, but these storms were spinning like a top. Look at this getting kicked up in the inflow. I came so close to seeing a tornado, but this time it didn't happen. After the chase, I met up with a few old friends, including Reed Timmer from the Discovery Channel, and his Dominators, which are designed to drive into tornadoes for scientific research. This was a storm we were chasing as the sun set that evening. The next day, I chased another storm near Dallas, which dropped the biggest hail I've ever seen. Well, I had to run out to grab them. Here's a couple big old hailstones. From the middle of Texas, Max Claypool, Storm Team 9. Credible observers have reported UFOs for decades. Now the government calls them UAPs, but whatever the nomenclature, a recent bombshell congressional hearing has lawmakers pushing for answers. In July, former intelligence official David Grush testified the US government was in possession of extraterrestrial vehicles with intentions to reverse engineer the technology.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
He was joined by former Navy pilots Ryan Graves and David Fravor.
As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
These are not our machines. They're from somewhere else. They're not us. They're not Russians. They're not Chinese. They can do things that we cannot do.
Many people believe that government secrecy on UFOs began in 1947 when something strange crashed on a ranch in Roswell.
So Roswell in July 1947, something strange crashed in the desert. And the story that came out that now the world knows did not come from UFO people, not from ranchers, not from saucer nuts. It came from the U.S. military. They put out a release that said, we've recovered a flying disc, a crashed saucer. And then the day later, they changed their story, and they've been changing their story ever since.
Despite the government story, credible military and civilian witnesses reported a crashed craft with occupants.
There was 3 bodies. She said 2 of them were very mutilated.
First, I thought it was a child because it was small. The head was different, the arms were spindly, the body was gray.
In this series, we'll examine the most compelling UFO testimony.
There is no evidence, I wish to emphasize, that these life forms from elsewhere are hostile towards us. But there is a great deal of evidence that they are concerned with our hostility.
From the most unimpeachable sources.
Our missiles began going into what's called a no-go condition or unlaunchable while this object was still hovering over our site.